guys, welcome back to Drinks and Discussions True Crime. Once again, I'm your host, Autumn, and here's my co-host, Tiffany. Usually we're in the same place, but today we're filming from different locations, and it's a little bit weird because I keep looking over and there's no one there. So, Tiffany, would you like to tell us what you're drinking tonight?
I'm gonna have a Coke and a smoke because I'm so tired. I just need some caffeine. But I do want to say that it's in my cute little Calathea can cooler, and it just obviously I really like Calatheas. But anyway, what are you drinking?
So tonight I am drinking a chocolate martini made with, of course, Tito's vodka. And I'm pretty sure this little skull's about to fall down and impale me any second now, but that's alright. But basically, my chocolate martini is made of vodka, chocolate milk, and heavy cream.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a dessert.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be made that way, but it works, so who cares?
So tonight we are going to be talking about 5 bizarre cases that you've never heard of. Some people obviously are going to have heard of the stories, but these are definitely less covered stories. So first, I want to let Autumn talk about her first case, and then I'll tell you another spooky case, and we'll just go from there.
Yeah, so normally what you guys know what we do is we talk about one person. And, I mean, it's great and all, but for Halloween we decided to kind of mix it up. So that's why we're doing this now. Kind of like what I said last week. I thought we were doing this last week, so I've been super prepared for 2 weeks now, and it's amazing.
Over prepared.
Huh?
You're over prepared.
I really am. It's kind of pathetic. But so my first person is Issei Sagawa, and I know I'm butchering that first name, but Wikipedia did not have a translator app to tell me how to do it. So Issei Sagawa, he was born in April 26, 1949 in Japan. He was born premature. He was very sickly as a kid. He kind of grew up that weird kind of loner kid, kind of by himself at times. And so what that led to was he developed an infatuation with his dog. And he spent most of his time with his dog, but he also developed an infatuation with the human flesh. He believed that if you could eat certain parts of other human beings, you could take on whatever that body part was. So he decided that he really wanted to start eating people. So his first thing that he did, at the age of 24, he was in Tokyo, started following around this German woman, I wouldn't say that he made friends with her, but he just kept kind of stalking her. And then one night he broke into her apartment while she was sleeping, and he decided he was going to cut off a piece of her butt. Yeah. Just decided...
Okay, so how did this creepy guy get this woman to come and sleep in the same place as him?
Oh, she had no idea. She had no idea whatsoever. So he was still in school at the time. She was also a student at whatever school he was in Japan. So he just kind of became infatuated with her and just kind of followed her around. And then found out where she lived and then waited for her to go to sleep one night and then broke into her apartment.
Oh, he broke in. Oh.
Yeah, she literally woke up to him trying to cut off a piece of her butt. Yeah, because I guess he thought, she's not going to wake up to that. No one's going to know. Of course she knew. So, of course, the cops were called. They said that it was an attempted rape. And he pled guilty to attempted rape. Because, of course, he did not want to confess his true plans to the cops. Because how are you going to tell the cops, oh, yeah, really, my intention was to eat her butt.
I wasn't going to rape her. I was just going to eat her.
I was going to eat her.
Not better.
I'll take rape. Never mind. So that's basically what happened. And he was still a super weird dude. So in 1977, he moves to France to get a PhD. He's still doing some weird shit. He even said himself there were multiple times where he could have killed someone, but he couldn't go through with it. And then finally he meets one of his classmates. Her name was Renee Hartvelt. She was Dutch. Invited her to his apartment for dinner. She showed up. And, like I said, he believed that if you could eat certain pieces of people, you could actually embody those pieces. So she was tall, she was beautiful. He thought that he was weak and ugly and small, so he just wanted to absorb her.
So why did he want to become a butt? Why did he try to cut the first girl's butt off? He should have got a BBL or something.
She had ass, and he just wanted some ass.
I'm assuming, but weird. But yeah, go ahead.
Weird, but that's what I thought. So what happens was, it says that she began reading poetry at his desk, and he came up behind her and he shot her in the back of the neck. He was not planning on killing, like, he's not really like a murderer, so to speak. So, like, he actually fainted after he killed her. Because he was like, oh shit, I actually killed someone. What the fuck? And actually fainted. So then when he woke up, he was like, oh damn, I did it. Which, at that point, he did try to have sex with her corpse. And he did try to, like, actually bite into her, but as he said, his teeth weren't sharp enough. So that left... Yeah.
Have you looked at your teeth?
Yeah, he was like, these will work.
Oh, God. Okay.
So at that point, he bought a butcher knife and then actually started carving her up. It says that he consumed various parts of her body, eating most of her breast, face, buttocks, thighs, and neck, either raw or uncooked. Even admitting that he ate her clitoris whole due to her being on her period at the time of not liking the smell of menstrual blood. Like, he actually ate her, and then took pictures of eating her in various stages of how he ate her. Like, it was pretty gruesome. And then he kept her for a while, too, until she actually really started decomposing and it got kind of smelly. And then he dumped her body, what was remaining of her body, in a lake. Of course, he got caught by the French police. And back in Japan, like, his family's super wealthy. Like, they're one of the wealthiest families in Japan. And his father got him a whole bunch of high-powered lawyers, so it goes to court. The French court is like, dude, this dude's crazy. Something wrong with him. You're gonna go stay in a mental institution for the rest of your life. That's it. Which is where he should have been. But what happens is, an actual author from Japan, his name was Inohiko Yomata. Once again, don't quote me on the pronunciation. He starts telling, like, the account of this guy, and it gets published in Japan. Japan's like, bro, we can't have this dude over there. France is like, we don't want him here. So France deports him back to Japan. He gets to Japan, he goes back to an insane asylum there, he gets tested by the doctors, and the doctors are like, this dude's perfectly fine. And he checks himself out of the psychiatric hospital.
He doesn't seem fine.
No.
He killed someone.
He killed someone, and
he ate them.
Literally ate them. So on August 12th, 1986, he checks himself out of the mental institute. And he has been free ever since. He tried writing some autobiographies and some books. They were not cooking books, mind you. But he did try writing books.
God.
I had to. But he did try writing some books and everything else, and all the publishers stopped taking the books. They were like, "No, bro, we are not publishing this shit." 2005, his parents die. He could not go to their funeral because of his past crimes, but he had to still repay all their creditors, do everything else. So he actually had an interview with Vice magazine in 2011, where he said that being forced to make a living while being known as a murderer and a cannibal was a terrible punishment. Like, I'm so sorry, dude, that you are still living free to this day. And that's the worst thing. Like, this dude even tried
He's not even grateful for his freedom.
No.
He killed someone and tried to eat another person, and he's not even grateful for his freedom. Yeah,
Exactly.
There's something wrong with him.
At one point, he actually applied for a school teaching French, and he was hired on because the manager was impressed by his courageousness in using his actual name and identity. This dude could have been a school teacher, but all the parents and the other teachers were like, nah, fuck that shit. Like, we don't want that dude working here. But yeah, so he's, as far as I know and everything that I found, he's still alive today.
Just roaming the streets.
Eating people and shit.
It's so crazy. That's insane.
So what's your next one?
So I'm going to talk about Reynard Spivey. So as much as I say that, these are cases that no one's ever heard of, lots of people know who Reynard Spivey is, and they may not even know about the crime because Reynard Spivey was a famous bailiff on a television show called Justice for All with Judge Christina Perez. I'm sure you've seen it if you've ever been off work in the afternoon and you're like folding clothes at the same time as like Jerry Springer or whatever. It's one of those like court shows like on like with Judge Judy or whatever. So did you say something because you cut out? What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you said something. Okay. Anyway, so he was arrested in 2019 for the murder of his wife. So he was on the show as a bailiff from 2012 to 2016, and prior to that, since like 1998, he has worked in the criminal justice system, like as a sheriff or as like a correctional officer or whatever. And at the time of the murder, he was I think it was a sheriff's deputy in Houston where he lived. And him and his wife, Patricia, they had argued for months, and I guess it kind of like came to a head because he was using steroids and he was probably cheating on her. And she was pissed about it. And she just like had told him, like, I don't feel close to you anymore. Like, I want to repair our relationship or whatever. And they got into a big fight. In the fight, he claims that there was a struggle with a 9mm handgun in the closet, and she shot him in the leg, and then he shot her twice. He shot her one time in the wrist, which immobilized her right arm. That was my left arm, but her right arm, and he also shot her once in the chest, which fatally wounded her. He shot her in the heart. I guess. He said it was accidental, but the evidence was inconsistent with being accidental. He was just charged and sentenced in 2019. He's going to have to be in prison for 14 years. And I guess this doesn't really seem like a bizarre case until you see the clip from Justice for All. Because in the clip, it's basically a guy telling him he doesn't look happy in his marriage, and then that just did not age well because then in 2019 he killed his wife. So we're going to show you the clip and hopefully you'll see how bizarre that it is.
How could it be true love when I'm getting yelled at constantly like a child in my
People
own
in
house?
love, they yell at each other all the time.
Oh, that's true. Ask him, he's been married for how long?
Over 20-something years.
Over 20
Look at him though, he look mad. You don't look happy, brother. You don't look happy.
So shit, so he murdered his wife.
Yeah. After all that.
Shit. Damn.
All right. Autumn, take us on to story number 3.
All right. Story number 3. Let me pull up my notes. Story number 3 is Dennis Nilsen. He's a Scottish serial killer. So Dennis Nilsen's very unique because, like, you have, like, your Jeffrey Dahmers that like to chop up people and have sex with the bodies and everything. Dennis Nilsen was a little bit different because it wasn't about the sex for him so much. He really just wanted the company. So, yeah. So most of his murders actually happened in London. He lured his victims to these places, whether it was like, hey, let's go have a drink at my place, or hey, why don't you come in out of the rain? And he would end up strangling these people or killing them through other means. But what he used to do is, afterwards, he would dismember them, decapitate them, kind of whatever he could get, like, kill them, and then he would dress up the bodies. He would clean them. The bodies were actually more taken care of post-mortem than they were pre-mortem. So really, it's not about the victims and everything else. It's about what he kind of did to these people. And so there were also several people where he started to actually kill them, but something stopped him, and he was like, no, I'm not going to kill this person. Like, no one's really quite sure why. Part of it has to do with his living situation at the time. In his first apartment, he lived in a flat in London where he had like a fire pit in the backyard so he could burn stuff easily. And then he was evicted from that place, not because he didn't pay his rent or anything, but because the landlord was going to renovate. So the landlord paid him out. He actually had to move somewhere else. And in his new place, he didn't have the garden. He didn't have the fire pit. So it kind of put like a wrench in his plans, so to speak. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with these people if I kill them. So, like, he kept stopping himself. And several of his victims were like, no, we woke up and there was like he was about to strangle me with a tie, or he was about to do this, so on and so forth. Eventually he starts killing again. So he would actually take care of these bodies until they decomposed to a certain point where there was nothing you could do with them at that point, and then he would like stick them underneath the floorboards in whatever apartment he was in. Yeah.
His neighbors. Oh my god.
It gets worse. So part of the thing too was he would also start dismembering them. He would take them apart. He would take out the organs. He would shove them down the drain. So, like, I live in a house. My house isn't that old, but I know I got in trouble for dumping bacon grease down the drain because it clogged the drains all the way out to the alley. This dude was
I can't believe you did that.
They go out there in the morning after they've looked through the pipes, and Nilsen himself is like, oh, looks like someone was flushing down Kentucky Fried Chicken. So they actually go back out there the very next morning. And the weird thing is, the drain lines had been cleared. The entire area where they saw the human flesh, where it looked like Kentucky Fried Chicken, had been flushed down the drains. It was cleaned out. So at this point, everyone's fucking on high alert. They're like, dude, seriously? It's fucking weird as fuck. So, sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, he had to like get rid of his
yeah, the cops get called. Everyone gets interviewed. They start tracing down the actual trace of like human flesh through the pipes, and then they discover, of course, it came from Nilsen's apartment. And he finally gets arrested and everything. And then when he confesses that there were more human remains because the cops wanted to like come into his apartment and search, and he was like, no, like, I'd rather be questioned at the station. So they like legit did not go into his apartment at that time. But in an interview on February 10th, he confesses there were further remains in a tea chest in his living room, other remains in an upturned drawer in his bathroom. The dismembered body parts were the bodies of 3 men, all of whom had been killed by strangulation. Like, literally, it was like the Scottish Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, there was like a slaughterhouse in his house, and I'm surprised no neighbors were like, hey, it stinks.
Oh, no, they did. They complained about that. They complained about the plumbing issues. They complained about a lot of things because he was flushing human body parts down the drain.
So crazy. That's
like,
bizarre that he thought that would work.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, how
half the time people can't even get their poop down the drain. You think you're going to flush their body?
You should have flushed it.
No.
And it just works.
No.
So what
It
I've
didn't
learned,
work. No.
what I've learned from all of this is that London has a very great plumbing system. Much better than mine.
Yeah. Yeah, you can almost flush a body through it.
Almost. Till it gets stuck in the drain.
It's insane.
So who's your next?
So story number 4, we're going to talk about the Broken Arrow family murders. This is in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. The bizarre thing about this case is there was no motive and there was no remorse for the killers. And once you hear like what they did, you're going to think, what the hell how the hell do you do that with no reason and not feel bad about it afterwards? So, Robert and Michael Bever were 2 of 7 children. They were age ranges 2 to 18, and he lived at a home with his parents. So there's 9 people in the home. I'm sorry, I lost my thought. They were homeschooled. So, I mean, I would just say there was nothing wrong with how their parents raised them, but they were very sheltered. But they did have access to things like the internet and, modern media and stuff like that. Their parents didn't just totally keep them from being in the world. They just homeschooled them because they were a deeply religious family. So they wanted to make sure that what their kids were being taught aligned with their values. So in 2015, in the summertime, the police get a phone call from one of the siblings, one of the 7 siblings. His name was Daniel. Daniel was 12 years old. He called the police and he told the police, "My brother is attacking my family." In the phone call, you can hear the family members in the background screaming. There's commotion. There's things going on in the background. And the call drops. So the police are automatically like, "Oh my God, something's going on." And they look up the address based on the phone number, and officers are dispatched to the scene. When the officers arrived on the scene, they immediately noticed that there was blood on the porch, and they could faintly hear the voice of someone calling for help. So they forced their way into the house, and they found 13-year-old sister Crystal bleeding out from multiple stab wounds. They had slit her throat, and they had stabbed her multiple other times. Yet she was clinging to life. And I will say, just from what I've told you so far, the brother Daniel, who was 12, and then the sister Crystal, who was 13, they are some heroes. I mean, really, that is the little brother Daniel who called the police, even though he ended up passing away. The police would not have gotten there as quickly as they had if he wouldn't have called the police, and the brothers would have continued their plans. And then the sister Crystal, she told the police so much information that led to them finding them and charging them. But anyway, after they found Crystal, they removed her from the home because she needed treatment. And then they also found the other victims that had died in the home. Now, he also had another 2-year-old sister. Her name was Autumn. She was unharmed. So they didn't do anything to the baby. I say that, but the youngest victim was 5 years old, still a baby. So I don't know why they didn't do anything to their sister, but the officers, besides finding 5 deceased people in the home, they also found knives, blades, hatchets, protective gear, bulletproof vest or whatever. And that was found at the home. What wasn't found at the home was Michael and his brother, Robert. So the father, he received 28 stab wounds. The mother, she had 48 stab wounds, but her cause of death was blunt force trauma. Then he also stabbed his brother Daniel and his brother Christopher, who was 12 and 6 respectively, both 21 times. And then their 5-year-old sister Victoria, they had stabbed her 23 times. The amount of times that they actually stabbed their family members, including the small children, is disturbing. it's definitely shows that there was some kind of passion that they did it, like a crime of passion, they say. Because you wouldn't stab a 5-year-old 23 times for just, that to kill them. I mean, they did it for some kind of pleasure or something. The 13-year-old sister, like I said, they had slit her throat. They'd also stabbed her in the stomach and in the arm. So they had stabbed her multiple times. Robert, he was supposedly the one who had planned the crime. He said that his parents were abusive. There was no signs of abuse whatsoever in their home. I think he was totally full of shit, and he was trying to use that as like an excuse. But there was no signs of abuse in his home. And they actually had the plans for the murder on a flash drive. Their plans were to outdo Columbine. They were going to steal a car. They were going to go to multiple different places, and they were going to shoot 5 people at each place, hopefully adding up to 50 people. So 5 people at home. Maybe that's why they didn't kill Autumn. But they didn't get to do that because Daniel called the police on them.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So Robert actually admired serial killers, and he wanted his total body count to be 500 people. He wanted to kill 500 people, starting with his 5 family members at home. There was no, like I said, evidence of any kind of abuse, so he had no motive for this crime. I mean, he gave no motive at all. It's just, he did it just because he wanted to kill people. After all this happened, obviously, the town in Oklahoma was totally devastated to the point where someone went and burned down their house because it was just like such a creepy, bad omen for their house and a horrible just, trigger for memories that they didn't want to have. So they burned down the house, and this park called Reflection Park was established where the house site was. So people can go and visit that. I mean, you can go visit it now. It's called Reflection Park. It's in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Both of the brothers were sentenced to life in prison. So they'll be there for the rest of their life. And fuck them. They did some crazy. That's crazy. They literally killed small children for no reason and their own parents for no reason. And they wanted to kill more people. They're insane. But anyway,
Literally.
that is, yeah. So that's that crazy story that I got for you. I think the last story we're going to talk about, number 5, it's probably the biggest one. So I think we both know what we're talking about here.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the Christmas massacre in Utah. Now, back in like 2003 or something, I don't know.
1990.
No. Back in like 2003, they did a 48 hours on it.
Oh, yeah.
But really, it's not talked about. So I wanted to talk about it. Because, yeah, it happened in 1990. Three days before Christmas. There was a picturesque cabin in the mountains in Utah. I mean, the place was gorgeous. It was secluded. It was like a dream home. It was the vacation home for the family. And, I mean, everybody was going to go up there and celebrate Christmas. It sounded like a grand old time. You know what I'm saying?
So I have rules about stuff like this.
Yeah. What is it?
Like, I have to be within at least 20 minutes of an emergency room. Oh, sorry. My dog has decided to join me on the bed.
Hello, dog.
It's Kinsey. She's hiding out of the camera, but she's here. So basically, I have to be within like 20 minutes of some sort of emergency room. I have to be 20 minutes within some sort of a Walmart or Target. And I'm sure as hell not staying in a house if I can't drive my car up to the goddamn front door.
Yeah, because the only way to access this vacation home was by snowmobile.
Yep.
There was a main road. That's where they parked their cars, and then they rode a snowmobile up there.
Yeah, no. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. So I know that there was other cabins in the area, but they were really far apart from each other. Like, you couldn't look over and see your neighbor. Like, that wasn't going to happen.
No, it's like
you were alone. Yeah.
You're
you feel like you're alone. Yeah. You're in the middle of nowhere. So why the fuck would you think that 2 people were going to come and do this shit that they did? You wouldn't. Totally unexpected. Right before Christmas. And there were there were several people who were at the home. There was 2 sisters, their mother, their father, and their grandmother. They were waiting on other family members.
They were.
Yeah. So the sisters were 16 and 20. Their names were Lene and Trisha. There was also the mother named Kay, their grandmother Beth, and their dad Rolf. So all of them are kind of like out and about doing whatever you do on a mountain that's secluded. I mean, it was frigid cold, so I have no idea what they were out doing, but 2 men saw them leave and thought, hey, we've robbed a lot of empty cabins today. Here's one with people in it. Maybe we should go in it and wait for them to come home.
So, yeah, in the articles that I was reading about this, one of the guys, literally, his grandmother or someone had a cabin out in that same area. And that's what they were doing. They were literally out there waiting for people to leave so that way they could go rob them.
Yeah, so Vaughn Taylor, he was the one who had a family member who had a cabin in the area. So they were familiar with this secluded area. This wasn't a foreign place to them. Like, anybody else would probably be in fear of dying being out there because it was so cold. But they were spending the day robbing cabins, So they didn't know that Vaughn Taylor and Ed Deli were in their home waiting for them to come back, So what did you read about what happened when they did come back? Did you...
So they came back, they shot the dad, they shot the mom, they shot the grandmother. The girls, they decided to kidnap them, and they rode off on snowmobiles back outside of the property where they passed the girl's uncle, who was also going to be there for the holidays. And the girls, instead of trying to flag them down or something, they were like, hey, no, we need to stay calm because if we don't, they will actually kill him. But this was not before the killers set fire to the cabin, trying to destroy all the evidence.
Yeah, they actually doused the dad, Rolf. They doused him in gasoline. And he was wearing a snowsuit because, like I said, they were out doing whatever the hell you do on the side of a mountain. And so he was wearing a snowsuit, and they doused him with gasoline, and they doused the entire upstairs, which this is a big place. But they basically set the dad on fire. Yeah. So he jumps. Well, first he plays dead. He's pretending he's dead, even though he just witnessed his daughters get kidnapped, his mother get murdered, and his wife get murdered. Yep. He plays dead. He goes and he jumps in the shower, takes off all of his snow gear, and he douses the flames. The dude lay there on fire, pretending to be dead.
But the best part is, after all of that, he hops on a snowmobile, half naked, half burned, shot in the fucking face, and goes
face so swollen.
Yes,
he could barely see.
Yes, all his brothers. There was this other dude on a snowmobile with no clothes on, a swollen face, and covered in blood. And that's when I realized, holy shit, that's my brother. And
he was shocked with terror when he realized that was his brother, and he knew something was seriously wrong. Because when he saw the girls on the snowmobiles, he just thought maybe they're with their boyfriends and they're being dicks. Maybe they're just ignoring me and being too clever. Yeah.
Not realizing that their lives were in danger too.
Yeah, exactly. Because they were he's waving at them, and they're they don't even wave. They just are ignoring him, shh, don't say anything, don't even acknowledge him. Even when they get to the main road and get in the car, he approaches the car.
Yeah, and they take off. They speed off in the family car.
Yeah, so he's probably thinking wow, good to see you too. He has no idea what's going on. And then he sees his brother, the craziest thing I've ever thought of. It's like a movie. He's bruised and battered, lit on fire, half naked, in the freezing cold, riding on a snowmobile to go rescue his daughters.
I'm sorry, that's like some Bruce Willis Die Hard type shit.
That is some Clint Eastwood shit.
He's who deserves props for that?
serious, major props for that. That's like, to me, that's, I don't even know if I could do that. He's awesome.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so Randy finally, when he does see his brother informs him of what happened, and they have to airlift Rolf to the hospital because he's seriously injured. Way more injured than somebody doing that you would think. And the police, because of the description and everything that Randy had given them, the police go on a high-speed chase with the car, but they do finally pull it over, and they save the sisters. That's, wonderful. Did you hear that both of those guys, Taylor and Deli, were on parole at the time of this happening?
Yeah, one was on parole for arson, the other one was for aggravated larceny or battery.
I think it might have been burglary or larceny, but either way, they both were on parole for committing the crimes that they just committed again.
Mm-hmm. Except this time
and then
step further.
Exactly. So, this time they took it several steps further because they did some really fucked up things even besides the murders. Because one of the most important pieces of evidence. Go ahead.
So what's really crazy is that even though they set fire to the place, it was so cold out there, the blood actually started forming blood icicles in between the floorboards between the second story and the first story.
Yeah, so it was carpeted upstairs, and then there was like wood underneath it. And when the police came in and they looked up, and there was blood icicles hanging from the ceiling. All the blood was frozen solid. I mean, there's footprints in blood that was frozen solid.
But they still
dragged.
Huh?
No, I was going to say they dragged the bodies outside, so there's drag marks of blood that's frozen solid.
Yeah.
But the most important, or one of the most important pieces of evidence is also, to me, one of the most bizarre things. They recovered a videotape in the family's home. And of course, they're thinking the videotape is going to be of, families laughing and playing games and telling stories, but it wasn't.
It was of them opening up the family's Christmas presents.
Intrusion at the home.
It's like a whole
I don't know. Okay. I don't think I got all of this. How come your light flashing on the front of that? I don't know. Find out. How am I supposed to find out? Read the instructions. And Lene. Come on, pass them. Oh, wow. What is it? Baseball card. Okay. Let's see a couple of them. Oh, the football and basketball. Show them this way. Turn them this way. Okay. Next page.
When the Tiede...
Yeah, like what? What? They recorded themselves opening the presents?
I mean, I guess if you think that you're going to burn the place down, like...
What was even the purpose in the first place? Even if you were going to destroy the evidence, I mean, what the hell were they thinking?
I have no idea. No idea.
Bizarre to me. It's so crazy to me.
But apparently, since then, one of them is like, no, I really fucked up. Like, this is horrible. I did a horrible thing. The other one's still like, wasn't all my fault. It was this dude's fault. You can't blame me. Either way, none of them are getting out of jail.
No, even though one was charged with first-degree murder, the other one was charged with second-degree murder.
Yeah.
So one is going to get life in prison, and one has the possibility of parole. They'll never approve his parole. It just won't happen.
Right. So another crazy thing. The father rebuilt the house.
Oh, yes.
And it is still in the family, and they still go there multiple times a year. It's a family vacation home.
Yeah, and they're like, kind of an honor to their mom and their grandma. I mean, it's not the exact same place. And it's kind of like in remembrance of them, kind of. But it is kind of, I don't know if I do it. It's kind of
Oh no,
creepy.
it's the exact same place.
Yeah, but it's not the same, like, building. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, it's the same
obviously
building.
the house was burned.
No,
But the
it's the
house was
same
burned, so
building.
they had to, like, well, some of it had to be changed, right?
No, so the house like super burn. It wasn't like super burn. Still
Oh,
the exact same building.
wow.
Still,
Yeah, I don't know if I could do it.
yeah.
I mean, they were there. They saw it. And they thought that their dad had been murdered. I mean, they thought that they just watched their whole family get murdered in front of them.
Yeah, no. It's still the exact same cabin.
Wow. That's crazy. And maybe they've installed some Ring cameras or something since then. Because that's insane. But I mean, what are the chances that somebody would go up there and do that? I mean, it had to be some crazy people who knew the area. So hopefully it's like lightning, and it won't strike the same place twice because I don't know if I'd feel it's like a haunted house movie. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, it's pretty common
Amityville Horror.
by lightning to get struck by lightning again because something within your body actually naturally attracts the lightning. So,
Well, that is not reassuring at all.
no. Why would you rebuild a house that half of your family got murdered on and keep celebrating there? I don't know why.
Maybe it's like the story, The Broken Arrow, where they wanted to have a place for remembrance, but I don't know. I guess they want to have their kids have the same experiences that they did in the same beautiful place, and they had one bad day, a really bad day. I don't know what we're doing next week, but we're gonna go back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Will be.
And yeah, so we will try to find you something entertaining and also mind-boggling for you. But I hope you have a happy and safe Halloween.
Yeah.
Make sure to check all of your candy because I've been finding razor blades in my candy. No, I'm just kidding. People don't do that, but just have a safe time and watch out for cars in the street. That's what's dangerous about Halloween.
No, you know what
But
they say. People put edibles and everything else in people's candies. And I'm just saying, if
I've never found any edibles.
please drop them off at my house if you have some. That'd be great.
If you find any edibles in your kids' candy, I'll send you my address. I'm just
Right.
kidding.
Please. I will Venmo you $5.
But anyway, so yeah, have a happy and safe Halloween. We love you so much.
Yep.
And
Love
we
you.
will
Bye.
see you next week. Bye.
Bye.